You and CM Punk, y'all made up?
No, I wouldn't say so.
You wouldn't say so?
I wouldn't say so. I mean, there's obviously some sort of working relationship. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to go out there and have matches. But there's just so much. It's so complex. I think maybe once we're both away from the business or retired or have hung it up, there might be an opportunity for reconciliation there. It's just so hard for me to separate the CM Punk that there is now from the CM Punk that was a really rotten friend to me 10 years ago.
Mhm.
And so it's just those wounds take time to heal.
Right.
Seth Rollins didn't hold back during his interview with Shannon Sharp, making it clear that while he and CM Punk can do business together, the relationship is strictly professional. And when you actually break down what Seth said, you realize this story goes obviously way deeper than just wrestling. Now, guys, this to me is our modern version of Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart. At least this is the closest we're going to get to that. So let's break it down a bit. He called him the rotten friend. Seth Rollins isn't talking about in-ring competition here when it comes to him saying the rotten friend. He's talking about a personal history. Now, how do we rewind that? We have to actually rewind to 2014. After Punk walked out in early 2014, Seth said he reached out to him multiple times and got nothing back. No texts, no calls, just silence. The ghosting is what Seth Rollins has described as the real betrayal, not Punk leaving WWE, but leaving friends behind without explanation. Now, what I mean about that, we can talk about first him leaving WWE. And the biggest thing we can do is talk about, if you haven't seen it yet, The Art of Wrestling with Colt Cabana in regards to why CM Punk left, at least from CM Punk's side. So basically, it's the biggest video that probably he will have in all his years. But there's also an animated version done by Ribshot, which quickly explains it too.
I'm in Boston. I'm talking to Vince about re-signing. He says, oh, we really need you. I'll give you this. I'll give you that. I say, I want this. He says, fine, you can have that. After I did that promo in Vegas, everyone calls it the pipe bomb. Then I was like, yeah, so, okay, this is going to be new CM Punk, and maybe I'll switch to fight shorts because then I can have sponsors and these guys are already in place. And he says, nope, the other wrestlers would get mad. This is that. We had a conversation. It wasn't my hill to die on, so I let it go. A year later, Brock Lesnar comes back and has sponsors. I didn't get it, and then Brock gets it, and without an
Jimmy John on his fighter shorts.
Explanation from Vince, and of course, when I go to him and I go, hey, that was my idea, I wanted to do that, and Vince always just, yeah, well, and he tries to blow smoke up your ass. But I'm not one of those guys that's going to be like, no, I'm the guy that goes, no, you're blowing smoke up my ass. Like, what's the difference?
So that begins with that.
If the difference.
That begins with that, but it eventually leads to him, from getting hurt, getting injured, that he has the staph infection, to the point that he just says...
And I said, goodbye, and I walked out. I didn't do it in the middle of a program. I didn't hold them up. I walked, And now, because a week after I fucking left, Vince texts me, just like the 2 surgeries, how you feeling, pal? You ready to come back to work? And I text him like, no, my lovely wife convinced me to go to her doctor in Tampa. I went to her doctor in Tampa. He's like, okay, so what's the problem? And I show him this lump, and he looks right at it. He doesn't touch it. He just looks at it, cocks his head sideways, and he goes, that's a full-blown staph infection. I just went, like, yeah, of course it is. I have a staph infection because of course I do. And I was like, all right, what are you going to do? And he's like, he just loaded me up with antibiotics. He cut the thing. He squeezed it, shit shot onto the ceiling. So I get that taken care of. All of a sudden, I can sleep. Vince texts me and says that I'm suspended. You're suspended for 2 months. So I did the math in my head. It was the day after Mania, my suspension.
So anyway, he leaves WWE. He's done. He gets his cleanup, and then he gets fired on his wedding day.
I'm married in 2 days, and I'm going to my honeymoon.
And he gets...
How about we talk the day I get home? I'll call you. He did not respond to the
Triple H
text. The day of my wedding, I got a FedEx in the mail. It was my termination papers. I was fired. Very calculated and very deliberate. And I was like, once again, you pushed too fucking far. You pushed the wrong guy.
So you guys should watch it separately because it is a very long interview. But basically, during this whole era, according to Seth, he tries to call him because he saw him as a mentor, but let's get to it.
He cares to make the effort to do that. And I care if he makes the effort to do that. I don't know. I don't know if either of us have the time for it at the moment.
The company pulled you in and said, look, guys, I understand there's some things going on between you two, but we run a business here. Y'all figure that ish out and keep it moving.
No, there was never a time where the two of us were sat down and had a conversation like that. There were conversations had before he came back about whether or not it's something that I could be okay with.
I wouldn't expect the higher-ups to bring to the room their two biggest, highest paid talent to sit with them and figure out their shit. I would assume that they expect them as professionals, especially those being highly paid, to figure it out themselves. So I get why he was trying to ask that question, but I'm not surprised because that's what they expect their higher talent to figure out their thing themselves. I mean, that's how usually the locker room goes.
And, he's back. So I always feel like if there's business to be done, that's bigger than me. That's bigger than my grievances. So, at the end of the day, it's not my sandbox. I don't make those decisions. I think WWE would be just fine without CM Punk. But I do think there's a large portion of our fan base that is very happy that he is back.
So that explains everything. Seth obviously isn't denying Punk's impact. He's just saying WWE doesn't really depend on him, which is true. He left almost over 10, when he came back, it was like he left a little bit over 10 years ago. And WWE was fine. They were able to move on. They had to deal with competing with AEW, especially when he was on that side. And they're still fine after all that. So eventually CM Punk's reaction, but let's continue.
So this happened before. This doesn't have anything to do with wrestling. This had to do with something outside of the ring.
I mean, we know each other through wrestling. So when he's with WWE, and I knew him before that. I knew him when I first started wrestling because he's from Chicago. So I would go watch him on independent shows. I wanted to be trained by him when he ran a school back in.
Did not know CM Punk had a wrestling school going on. That's actually news to me.
2004. Didn't have the money to do it because it was out in Philadelphia and I couldn't move out there. Didn't have any cash. But I stayed in touch. I'd go watch him on shows. I was a fan of his. He knew my upbringing. He saw, that we were kind of cut from the same cloth, and
Gotcha.
He was somewhat of a mentor to me when we got to WWE. And he also...
So this is interesting. He says that he couldn't, but in an interview that was done, I'm assuming in Monday Night Raw. Yeah, it was during Monday Night Raw, and this was around last year, that Punk says a little different twist to that story.
It's no secret to anybody that I'm not going to shy away from a fight. If you come at me, I'll start swinging. But when it comes to Seth's hatred of me, I'm more confused than anything because I don't hate Seth at all. I mean, I think to understand, you have to talk about the history between myself and Seth Rollins, and it goes back quite a bit. You're talking.
Now, he's going to bring back before 2014 era when Seth was just starting.
About a 16-year-old Seth Rollins came to CM Punk and asked him to train him to be a professional wrestler for free.
Key word. He's saying he wanted, Seth Rollins, a young 16-year-old Seth Rollins, who, based on the story that Seth is saying, is him going to Chicago or whatever, going to see him in shows, and going to his school and saying, can you train me for free? Seth's story, he's saying that he didn't have the money to do it. So maybe CM Punk is taking that jab a little too hard, saying that maybe maybe Seth was saying, I don't have money, and maybe he took it a different way. I don't know, but the way he's painting it is very different from how Seth's painted it in his story. Oops.
That's the key part of that story that everyone always leaves out. Now,
so he's saying Seth leaves out the part that Seth legitly asked CM Punk to pay to train him for free. It would be nice, especially since this clip comes from a Monday Night Raw, that WWE uses this as a continuing storyline whenever they decide to pick up Seth and CM Punk again as a different storyline. Right now, CM Punk is dealing with Roman Reigns, which is another interesting story that can connect to this whole debacle. It would be nice if CM Punk and Seth brings this up, but they really don't. In the promo from last year before the Netflix premiere match that they had, they didn't bring this part up. He brought it up, but I don't remember Seth rebuttaling that.
That entitlement, I think, has carried over into the adult Seth Rollins, who wants to be the best in the world. He wants to be on everybody's top 10 list of the greatest of all time. But I remember a time when he was on the top 10 list of people to be fired from this place. And
interesting. So let's go back to Seth.
Vouched for myself and John Moxley to be brought up from developmental. Vouched for myself when we got to, and he was somewhat of a mentor to me when we got to WWE. And he also vouched for myself and John Moxley to be brought up from developmental to the main rosters. Everything was good. He let me sleep on his couch. He let me ride his bus occasionally from time to time. He's a really good guy. And I would have done anything for him. And then he leaves the company and basically just completely ghosted. Like, just stopped being a friend. Like, and I reached out to him multiple times to try to talk to him. And there was never any animosity between us. There was never like a falling out between the two of us. He just didn't like the fact that I stayed working for the company.
So before we get back to him talking about the company, let's continue this story. I'm going to move away from these. Right here.
I shielded him from that.
So now he brings up the Shield part.
I guess if I have to live in my shadow, I'd hate me too. Seth Rollins is extremely talented, multiple-time champion, Money in the Bank winner. Everything he did, I've done better, and I did it before he got here. Now, I don't claim to do those things because I wanted to thank you. I recognize that 16-year-old kid had all the potential in the world. And in my absence from this company, Seth did a fantastic job of filling that vacuum, but simply put, the starter's back. Second string got to sit back down on the bench.
Ouch. But to bring this into perspective, let's talk.
CM Punk didn't just leave WWE, he vanished. The night after the 2014 Royal Rumble, Punk walked into the arena, then walked right back out. No entrance, no match, no explanation. Fans were left in chaos. WWE rewrote everything, and the voice of the voiceless became the loudest silence in wrestling history. One decision, and the entire company felt the shockwave.
It's barely talked about. Is one of the people that brought the idea of the Shield to the WWE. He did help bring Moxley or Dean Ambrose for some, and Seth Rollins to the main roster, and he originally vouched for them, as he said, and he wanted to move them to main roster and pitch a heel stable built around younger NXT talent, not Nexus level, but a smaller group. Now, Ambrose and Rollins were two of the people he named, but originally CM Punk named the third person he named was Chris Hero, which, if you don't know who Chris Hero is, he's Cassius Ano. And WWE loved the idea, but instead of Chris Hero, they swapped for another person, who you guys know as Roman Reigns. They wanted that Samoan kind of hierarchy into the group, so he was swapped with Roman Reigns, and years later, obviously, as you know, we got different storyline. We got Seth as a top face, and so is Roman as the tribal chief, and then Moxley is obviously left to go to AEW, and he's become a big name of himself. All three of them are a higher level caliber. Now, because of that, or at least if we take a step back from the Seth and CM Punk, imagine using this storyline that originally CM Punk never had a thought about using Roman Reigns as the Shield, and using the storyline building up to WrestleMania 42. Maybe these are one of the reasons why Roman Reigns hates CM Punk. The fact that you didn't think of me when it came to vouching for Seth and Moxley. You never vouched for me. You never believed in me. And look at me now. Without you, I become something much greater. And at WrestleMania, I will take the belt to remind you of that, or something like that. It would be great if they connect these weaves of the Shield formation into this storyline, because CM Punk used the Shield in his heel storyline to help with him retaining the title when he was a heel, especially when he feuded with The Rock. So it would be interesting to see that. But anyway, we will see. Let's continue.
And
Well, hold on. Just because you leave, hold on. I want to eat. I like my living style now. And so because you had a falling out, I'm supposed to have a falling out too?
I wasn't the only.
Perfect Power Rangers season 1 type of analogy going on here.
Only person that he felt this way about. He lost a lot of friendships over this. He did this on his own. And I think, that would have been one thing. But then on the back end of that, he spent many years taking kind of pot shots at what we were doing, of what we were trying to do in WWE without him. Look, when he left a pretty significant void. He was at the top. He was a top star. And we were trying to rebuild, and we didn't have a lot to work with. We were trying to make the thing great. And he took a lot of shots on podcasts and interviews at me and at people who were trying to do good things for the industry that he supposedly loved. At that point, WWE was my home. Right. And so when you starting to talk bad about my home and the people that I love and the people, I take that personally.
Right.
So what does he mean by that? There's a few things that CM Punk did while he was away. The first one, which we already talked about, was the ghosting. Ghosting pretty much anyone that didn't agree with CM Punk. Now, I've never seen CM Punk address this, so we are right now just hearing one side of the story. It would be great if CM Punk eventually talks about this, but he doesn't. Now, this was post-January 2014, basically after CM Punk walked out of the WWE after the 2014 Royal Rumble. Punk severed all communication with almost everyone in WWE. Rollins has since, because of that, revealed in multiple interviews, including Insight with Chris Van Vliet and this one, that he reached out via text and calls to check on Punk and out of respect for what he thought was his mentor and he was his student type of relationship, but was met with zero responses from CM Punk. Now, Rollins' perspective on that, Rollins viewed it as silence, as a shot at their friendship, stating that Punk essentially abandoned those who didn't quit their dream jobs along with him. And that's what I mean about the Power Rangers mentality, because when the original 3 Red Ranger, Yellow Ranger, and Black Ranger chose to leave due to pay disputes, they, according to them, wanted all the remaining 3 to join them in this fight because they thought together they can get what they needed. And instead, the other 3 decided to stay, and similar scenario. I just find it funny that it was a similar setting. Here is Chris Van Vliet talking about it.
Broadcast team on Fox when they were doing that on the 6th.
This was a separate shot. But somewhere along here, and this is when I should use the transcripts properly.
Saying publicly for a long time, and things I've wanted to say to his face for a long time and haven't been able to, or have said privately. Occasionally I would get asked about him over the years, and you would see some of it slip out. But most of the time I just never wanted to acknowledge his existence because he was he really was just a cancer to my career for many years while he was gone. He an intentional one, you know what I mean? He was a parasite. He really just wanted to it seemed like every time he could take a pot shot at me or the company, he was trying to. And so I never wanted to give that credence because I just kind of looked at him as like a troll. I'm like, I don't want to acknowledge these things because then it looks like they matter and they don't.
And this is him being professional. When apparently shots were fired, he just ignored it as much as he could.
It did bother me internally, because, right, I think, we were hustling, dude. We were trying our damnedest, and we were given garbage a lot of the time, and we were making the best of it. And he was in a position where he'd made a bunch of money and could just dip and go, and there wasn't an alternative. AEW didn't exist at the time. There was nowhere else to go. What are we going to do? Just pack up and leave?
And that's the main reason why people, including Seth Rollins, didn't follow with him. Because although CM Punk probably got a lucrative deal when he resigned, these guys were just beginning. So they didn't have nowhere else to go. And he's right, at 2014, it was WWE, or you go to lower companies at that time, which was TNA, or even lower. Maybe you'll be lucky and get a decent contract with New Japan Pro Wrestling, but that means uprooting your life to Japan. Something that many of these wrestlers are able to do, especially when they were young. Seth just became a main rock. What do you expect them to do? Nowadays with AEW, it becomes now a negotiating tactic for all these wrestlers to see which company will pay them more.
Because CM Punk's feelings were hurt. Because that's what he wanted from guys. He didn't want people who were his friends to stay and work for the company because he felt like it was some sort of betrayal to him. And I'm like, dude, A, this is my dream job. B,
this is how I earn a living. And like, I'm trying to get to your level. Like, I don't have the luxury to just quit. I can't go anywhere else and get paid this kind of money.
Facts.
Like my career, I don't get to work till I'm 60 either, you know? So it was one of the most selfish things I'd ever seen out of a human, like leaving the way he did and then kind of like expecting other people to follow him and then like taking shots at the place from a distance when he wouldn't even explain to his friends like why he was so resistant to continuing that friendship. Like I never got an answer out of it.
Were you friends up to that point?
Yes. Like we were friends till he left, you know, and we had a mentor-mentee kind of relationship, you know, at that point because I was a lot younger. So like I didn't push. I sent him some texts and called him like after he left, but I wasn't like comfortable enough with him, but like because we were peers, but you know, he was here and I was here. So I didn't want to like push that envelope. So after a while, I just let it go. And then even over the years, I reached out to him a couple of times to try to like engage and just see where he was at and if he was interested in coming back. And nothing, no response, except whenever he would get a chance, he would just talk as much crap as he could.
So an example of him talking crap as he would be November 2014 when he finally opened up about him leaving, which, as we talked about, is at the Art of Professional Wrestling podcast, which that's when Punk broke his silence for the first time on Colt Cabana, his friend's podcast, which Punk famously took shots at Triple H, Vince McMahon, the WWE medical staff. And those were the three main ones. He notably did not mention Rollins or any other wrestler negatively. But the way, and you have to understand how Seth Rollins sees it, Rollins later criticized that podcast because it was Punk's attempt to tear the company down, as he said it on Chris Van Vliet's podcast and the other one, and he filled it with negativity from the outside, which Rollins felt was an attack on his home. He is deeply connected with WWE at this point, and he feels like he needs to protect his job, his home. So anyway, what's the other items we can relate to? But let's continue.
You know, how am I not? And because we were friends and you didn't want to talk to me about anything when you left, how am I supposed to not take that personally?
Right.
You know? So yeah, it was hard for me. And I did write you off and I did say, you know, F you. Like, I ain't got time for that, man. I ain't got time for people like you. You know, using that negative energy, trying to tear down everything we're trying to build here. I ain't got time for that. And so it really, really bothered me when he came back because I go, dude, you were gone. We did this. We did this without you. Not only
facts
without you, but in spite of you. We did this in spite of you. You tried to make this not happen, and now you want to come back and reap
you want to be a part of it. That you see, we didn't crumble without you.
We didn't. We got better and we got bigger, and everything is better now.
And that's crazy. All Seth wanted is just for him to respond back, and CM Punk never responded to him, which is kind of insulting. In all honesty, he should have responded in some shape or form, but he never did, and that's what he took more personally. And I can relate with this side of Seth when it comes to like all this negativity talk. No one should have time for this. You need to work on leveling up on your next steps forward, which is for him at that time is getting himself to a main event status, which happened thankfully for him a year later with WrestleMania 31 with the heist of the century. He focused on his career, and through to that, he was able to be part of the Shield breakup, became a main event heel, and was able to create one of the most memorable moments in WWE WrestleMania history. So yeah, he was helping elevate the company. He was trying to elevate the next group of wrestlers. We were moving from, I guess, the ruthless aggression era now to even the PG era. Now we're moving into the streaming era with the beginnings of WWE Network. They needed a new set of faces, and Seth Rollins was being targeted as one of the faces to help elevate the product to the next level. Now, there are a few other key moments when CM Punk did do some shots fired that are obvious. One of them I already talked to you guys about, which is the second string one, which was this one. And if you want, I can just quickly
it had all the potential in the world. And in my absence from this company, Seth did a fantastic job of filling that vacuum. But simply put, the starter's back. Second string got to sit back down on the bench.
That's one shot. But that was done in 2024. So I'm still trying to understand what other shots. As far as I know, when it comes to CM Punk shots at Seth Rollins, it's been once he came back in 2023. It has never been at the beginning. If anything, Seth Rollins has been the one doing shots directly to CM Punk. CM Punk, though, has been doing shots to the company. If anything, he did a shot to The Miz when he did the promo between him and MJF at AEW, calling MJF a glorified Miz or something like that. So anyway, another time that CM Punk, once he came back, did shots to Seth Rollins. He publicly stated that Rollins' hatred for him stems from Rollins having to live in his shadow. And that one I can give you a quick clip for, but I am trying to avoid from copyright. So let's just quickly go through that. So we can go right here.
Did Stone Cold Steve Austin take his ball and go home? You know, I haven't seen the man around these parts in quite some time. Did she take her ball and go home too?
And what does he mean by that? We can go back to this video even better, huh?
CM Punk chants. Place to die with the echoes of those CM Punk chants. You and on your buddy's podcast tried to tear this place down. When that didn't work, you took every single shot you could to try to kill this place, and you still couldn't do it.
And what he means by that is going to the podcast, obviously AEW, and trying to use AEW to take the company down.
Chunk of change to go join the competition. How'd that work out for you?
Unfortunately, he got fired. Anyway.
You want to call me a martyr? Nah, man. I never felt bad about anything that I did. I never felt ashamed. I fought and I stayed because that's how revolutions are made.
So there's that. There's that. And then he talks about on the world.
To your family. We're all family, Kathy.
Anyway, that we already talked about. It's him talking about protecting the company as family.
10 years. Let's talk about the last 10 months. Seth, how's your neck? How's your knee, Matt? How's that knee? How's your insides? Because I watched Big Bronson Reed hit you with 6 tsunamis. How's your pride? Because you didn't get a modicum of revenge on him, and you saw me.
He basically trying to say that he's not ready. Wait,
I said very publicly, I'm here to make money, and next week, baby, I get to make a boatload of cash, making you the victim you so badly want to be, little brother.
Again, hitting that family perspective. Where's the shadow clip? Maybe it's right here.
I should be dead, Seth, but I'm not, and oh, aren't the arrow throwers. Next week, those same arrows that were supposed to do me in, I carry to this day. And I'm walking into L.A., Netflix, live and in living color.
So what he means by the arrows is basically, he says earlier in the promo, and I'm trying to avoid getting hit by WWE. He says earlier in the promo that he was part of the people that shot arrows at him, calling him names and whatever. Basically saying that it's kind of him saying publicly, him backing up the company and the reason why he didn't talk to him. But that's one thing. The TNT sport. Oh, he says it in that one. Here we go.
Train him to be a professional wrestler for free. I shielded him from that.
Anyway, he was saying he would live in the shadow there. And then he does that promo. He called him little brother. And then he flips off Rollins during AJ's return. See right here. He's flipping Seth Rollins, who's all the way back there. This was during the return of AJ Lee. That's another jab. Then it was a bigger one when he mocks him
that going
doing
forward,
his thing.
ladies and gentlemen, is that there is no snake in the grass. Seth Rollins waiting in the wings, creeping around in the dark with a Money in the Bank briefcase to cash in on me. No, 1 second, if you would indulge me.
So this happened in early 2026, I believe, or late 2025 when he reclaims the title. Punk mocked Rollins' recovery from injury by performing Rollins' signature title swing gesture during a segment of Monday Night Raw. Now, let's get back to this main video.
You got an opportunity to wrestle Brock Lesnar.
We're already done with that. He pretty much talked about. Now, there's another criticism. He talks during here we go. He talks about Seth Rollins in a WWE Backstage, which was a Fox special TV show that they had before in the early 2020, maybe late 2019. and he talks about
to the WWE universe and what he had to say to them. Of like,
this was before this. You know, this CM Punk was hired through Fox, not through WWE, so that's why he was able to show up on this show.
what do you guys want from me? I mean, this version of Seth is kind of in the sweet spot.
I think they want Seth to be entertaining. They've always wanted Seth to be entertaining. And this is, to me, just one of those cases of where he's just not good at being a good guy.
So
So
now-
do what you're good at, be the bad guy.
Lean
And the
into-
ironic thing is now everyone's going to cheer him.
So, again, this probably is the first, if you want to go there, this is the first actual clip of Punk criticizing Rollins' character before 2024. But this wasn't during the 2014 era or anything like that. He pretty much just told him he's better as a bad guy. Be that. Anyway, let's pretty much leave it at that. The animosity began when Punk left the 2015 for Seth Rollins and severed all ties with, when CM Punk severed all ties with his friends, including his mentee, Rollins. Rollins has frequently shot back in recent years, calling Punk a locker room cancer, which scavenger and a fake martyr who tried to tear down the company from the outside. This could have all been solved if he just texted him back. That's it. I mean, that's the animosity. It's just Seth not being in the end with CM Punk on why he left from day one. He could have, maybe this could have been better for him, but it wasn't. So anyway, that is pretty much how far we're going to get between these two until they reveal more for us. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.
Bye-bye, bitch.